Okay, in this video, under our current liabilities and payroll, mentioned in the last one, this is our third video in the chapter, and we're going to look at the payroll. Oh, let's use a different color pen here. Let's use yellow to start us off. We're looking at payroll and how we account for the payroll. There's two things to consider here. One is the actual payroll expense, the salaries expense. So let's call this the payroll expense. And then the other is the employer expense, which is the taxes. Payroll taxes. This is something that the employer has to pay on behalf of employees. This is the payroll expense, the actual salary being paid to people or wages. These are the taxes that the employer has in connection with the expense. So we make up an example. Let's say you're making $3,000 a month. We'll use that as an example. Well, the actual payroll, the issue here is that there are withholdings that are coming out of your payroll. You know that when you get paid a check, you receive the check, there are withholdings. And what are the withholdings? We have federal withholding tax. We have FICA, which is withheld, and that has two pieces, Social Security and Medicare. Those are actually withheld from your paycheck. So at a federal level, we have federal withholding, and let's call this at a federal level. We have those issues. At a state level, we have what? State withholding tax, income tax, withheld from your paycheck. And then at kind of a local or company level, what else do we have? Some of the uniquenesses. You may have medical insurance. This is your portion of the medical insurance plan that you're under, or union dues, or any other deductions. The deductions from the payroll. So let's look at this and give an example and show it over here. Let's say you make $3,000. Well, the payroll expense, the entry would look like this. Payroll expense. You're the only employee and you're making $3,000. We're going to debit $3,000 to payroll expense. But then we're going to have all these withholdings right here. So let's say we have federal withholding tax. It's a liability. It's a payable. Let's just say that's $500. Let's say you have FICA, the Social Security portion, the Medicare portion. Let's just make up some numbers. Let's say it's 200 and 100. You're also going to have state withholding tax. These are liabilities right here. And let's just say that's 300. And then you're going to have, let's just say you have medical. Let's just say medical and other. Put it all into one category. And let's say this is 200. And then we actually pay you cash. How much cash do you get? Well, $3,000 is the payroll, right? But you have 5, 7, 8, 10, 13, right? $1,300 withheld. So how much are you going to get? You're going to get $1,700. Right? So $1,700, now that's maybe a little extreme, but 5, 7, 8, 10, $1,300 is $1,700, excuse me, is what you're going to actually receive. That's going to be the amount of the check that you can put in the bank. So that's how the payroll works. That's how the expense works right here. But on top of that expense, the employer actually has taxes that they're responsible for. And what are those taxes? They have to match Social Security. They have to match Medicare. And on top of that, they have something which is called federal unemployment tax and state unemployment tax that they pay as an expense to the company to have you on payroll. Again, this is the payroll. Payroll expense is what you're actually receiving less the deductions, the withholdings. Taxes, payroll taxes, are an expense on top of the $3,000. They have to match the FICA Whatever's withheld from you, they match it. They have to match Medicare. They have to pay state unemployment tax and federal unemployment tax. If you step out of an employment situation and you're self-employed, you then become responsible for this piece and this piece here. You're picking up both. But let's look at what an entry would look like to record not the payroll expense, but the taxes. It would look like this: debit payroll, taxes, expense. And let's just say adding up all those things together, let's say, well, some of it we know what it's going to match. The 200 and the 100 is 300. So let's say it's the total of this plus this we know is 300 because you're matching that and that, right? So it's going to be 300, and let's just add another 100. So let's say it's 400. What are we going to credit? We're going to credit FICA, right? Payable. FICA payable for what? 200. For Social Security, and for 100 for Medicare. This is the Social Security, that's the Medicare piece. We're going to have federal unemployment taxes. Let's just say that's 50. And let's say the state is 50. $400. There's the liability. We've recorded the taxes expense right here. This is the expense. There's the liability. We owe FICA, Medicare, federal unemployment tax, state unemployment tax. That's $50. It looks like 500. That's 50. Let me erase that. Try to clean this up a little bit. How's that for a fancy eraser? So we put 50. 50, 50, 50, 100, 200, 2, 3, and 1's 4. Debits equal credits. And when we actually pay these off, we debit the liabilities and we credit what? Cash to make the payment. So two different entries to record payroll, right? That's what we're looking at. Two different entries to record payroll. One is recording the actual expense of the payroll. The other is recording the expense of the taxes. The taxes on the payroll. They're two separate things. So hopefully this will make sense. We're going to do class examples and we'll have problems and things like that. But I just want to introduce the concept of payroll in accounting. So we'll see you in the next video where we'll look at some notes payable and some of the tricky nuances of that.